Okay, this video is intended to be a partial breakdown, maybe complete breakdown of the current state of my 3D printed AR project, which I'm calling the PBR-15 or plastic battle rifle. So my first iteration of this used a different style of barrel mounting mechanism. I had two cross pins holding the barrel in place. That worked for about 200 rounds and then suffered a mechanical failure because we had 4mm cross pins going into 3D printed plastic. Not the best design. The new design actually uses a 1/4-inch steel plate as a barrel nut with 4 bolts locking it down, though I have not test fired the weapon with that design just yet. I guess aesthetically, it is sort of based on a las gun from Warhammer 40,000. What with this very large rectangular handguard. Handguard is M-LOK compatible. Those are M-LOK slots on the sides and bottom, not on the top. It does feature front and rear QD sling swivel points. The forward QD sling swivel point is actually reversible, so you can put it on the other side if you want. That does work just fine. So I'm not going to demonstrate that now. It does print in this gray PLA Plus, is what you print it in whatever color you want, but I did print it in this gray, and then I spray painted it with some Rust-Oleum camo flat tan. So this is set up very similarly to my actual AR-15, which is that's my kind of primary battle rifle. So they both feature lightweight barrels, though I think the one on here is actually a little bit lighter, but regardless, lightweight barrels, carbon fiber handguard, Tennessee Arms polymer, hybrid polymer lower, MFT minimalist stock. Flip it over. This is an Aero Precision slick side, so no forward assist upper. Again, in an effort to shave weight. So without a magazine, so this rifle, as configured here, this muzzle brake accepts my suppressor. I've got a flash, I've got a white light, vertical grip, optic, red dot, and that rifle is 6 pounds 4 ounces as configured. This one is actually, flip that back over. This one is actually 6 pounds and 12 ounces with just the with no magazine and with the optic. So it is actually a little bit heavier than my actual combat rifle, which is kind of hilarious seeing as it's all polymer. And then there's a cat involved. Come on, kitty cat. Okay. So a few things that have changed from the first version that was printed. For one, additional reinforcing has been added here to make this a fair bit stronger. This texture is actually externally applied JB Weld. You can kind of see it reflective here where I masked off when I painted. But yeah, there's externally applied JB Weld all over this. Oh, look at that. You can see where I had the safety position whenever I painted it. That's fun. So it's externally applied JB Weld to help reinforce the printed polymer. It's, the upper and the lower and the handguard are printed at 100% infill. The stock is printed at 30% infill with a hexagonal infill pattern and quite a few external layers. It's proven to be very strong. I've had failures with some of my prints in this region, so I'm doing everything I can to bulk this up, adding additional material, obviously applying JB Weld to the outside. Probably still not strong enough to do the push-up test as many people would think to do. So this is still a hybrid printed upper with the, if we flip this over, you can see again where I masked off the ejection port, and in here you can see a threaded rod that runs the length of the upper, as well as the aluminum tube on the inside, and that aluminum tube is what the barrel actually mounts into, 1-inch ID aluminum tube. So yeah, so we've got that still. That was a very successful part of the design that has been retained. One thing, magazine release works. Magazine or bolt catch does work. Okay, focus, buddy. So right here, this is a piece of 1/8 round bar with some slots cut into it that is used to lock the charging handle onto. That's a strength improvement, hybrid design that is new for this build. There are still the reinforcing bars running the length of the stock, and the hand guard. Oh, there we go. Click. Yeah, that's about it. So this pretty much represents the way I like to set up a fighting rifle. As light as possible, M-lock slots to mount accessories such as a flashlight or a laser or whatever the heck you want to mount. It does have bottom M-lock slots, so you could put a vertical grip, though I actually find this handguard to be pretty comfortable. And it's got front and rear QD sling swivel mounts, as mentioned, which I just like because it integrates well with, I have 1 or 2 slings that I use with most of my rifles, so it's pretty universal. Yeah, Cat is losing his mind in a box over there, big surprise. But yeah, so that's pretty much the update in terms of new features. Like I said, this area here and on the other side was made wider dimensionally compared to a standard AR. Of course, you can see how you got this relief of the cylindrical, receiver hole, slots cut out here, everything else. This is a very lightweight receiver. This is much more bulky. This is just a big block to have added material. The magazine well is beefier. The exterior dimensions of the magazine well are much beefier. This handguard is roughly 4 millimeters thick. Stock is of course fixed, and one thing I realized on comparison today, so if we line the rifles up, so we can say that they're lined up pretty well, there's actually about an extra inch of stock there on the end, so might be worth looking into. This stock is probably a little bit short compared to how I typically set up my rifles, but I was trying to match roughly the M16A1 length of pull, which I think I did dimensionally, but I might want to make it just a little bit longer. Let's see. Not much else to it. Otherwise, mechanically, internally, it's a standard AR, standard fire control group, magazine release, pistol grip, safety, bolt carrier group. This is a Bear Creek Arsenal cheapo barrel. Works just fine for this purpose. Direct impingement gas system, standard buffer. Not that much actually going on. There's really nothing going on in here that is external, that is unique to this gun. I could take all of the standard AR parts out of here, and other than the paint that's been applied, just drop them into a regular upper-lower handguard, AR platform rifle, and rock and roll just fine. No real permanent modifications to any of this. As a result, this design is completely compatible with any and all existing AR-15 components. So we could rechamber this in 300 Blackout, we could rechamber this in 6.5 Grendel, we could put a 12-inch barrel, cut down the handguard, we could put a a 24-inch barrel. Take your pick. We could put heavier buffers. So it really is a completely functional AR-15 chassis system, AR-15 compatible chassis system that accepts standard AR components. We could put a match grade trigger in there. We could put the receiver thickness is the same, so you got your standard pins. Let's see, or I should say the receiver thickness down here is the same. It's much thicker up here and up here. Of course, you can see by comparison that's flush. Here it gets much wider. It's a little bulkier for added strength because it is plastic. This is an example of the handguard. My printer actually had an issue, so it ran out of plastic halfway through the print. So this is what it looks like shorter. So you could definitely go shorter. I just like this is a mid-length gas system barrel, so I just like having my handguard fully cover up the gas system and the gas tube. So if you can see here, let's see. Have light. I do have light. Okay, so you can see here there is the gas block. So obviously this handguard lined up would not fully cover up the gas block, which is why I reprinted it. Let's see what else to say. I'm not going to break it down because that involves removing these two screws. This upper and lower are completely incompatible with standard ones. You can probably tell from this comparison. Let's line up the rear. The pins don't line up, and there are some reasons for that. Because this upper is cut, because the aluminum tube is it is 1 inch inner diameter and 1 1/4 inch OD. So because of that, it does actually stick out a little bit more on the lower receiver. So there has to be some slots cut into the lower receiver. So this lower is not compatible with standard uppers, and that was this lower could be modified to be compatible with standard uppers, but I haven't done that yet, and I don't really see a reason to, because this whole design was built around making a functional upper. And again, this is all using eSun PLA Plus, which is a fairly inexpensive, easy to print with material. I hope it's inexpensive and easy to print with because I'm not that good at 3D printing. So, but yeah, so again, metal reinforced hybrid 3D printed design is the goal here. It is got metal where it needs it, polymer where it doesn't. It's relatively simple to manufacture. The upper receiver's tube, the aluminum for that is like $16 for a 12-inch section, and you can make 2 of these uppers with it. So it's quite inexpensive. Most of the other hardware in here, there are some small modifications to some of the hardware that you purchase, but it's fairly straightforward. And no modifications needed to the standard AR parts. And I did that partially as a reason to make it easier for someone to actually perform the assembly, and also so that if they perform the assembly and the weapon breaks, they can just take the parts out and slap it in a real chassis. Though on the note of the upper, the aluminum tube for the upper, there is a 3D printed jig that shows you where to cut, because it is just a solid tube and you need to mill out and hog out some areas with a Dremel or with an angle grinder. I used a little of both, and that process for me took about 2 hours with an angle grinder and a Dremel, and then of course it is JB welded into place with the marine weld, which I chose the marine weld specifically because this is aluminum bonding into plastic, and I used another JB weld on the first build, and the JB weld separated. Now, that is to say, this iteration has not been test fired yet. The barrel and the bolt carrier, of course, have, but this actual iteration of this rifle has not been test fired, and if it is successful, I will probably release this as a 1.0 release. yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.